Brooke and I are here today to share a little bit about what we've learned working together with our rural teacher residency program here in Fresno County. And Brooke represents our county partner as the residency coordinator, and I'm at Fresno State, so as the IHE. So our opportunity of practice, I guess a little bit, you're seeing here about our program. Our partnership is a county office of ed, Fresno State, and 4 rural districts in the northwestern part of our county. And we meet our residents out where they're at, so they don't have to drive into Fresno State, which actually ends up being a really important theme in some of the work and feedback we received from the residents. Our credential emphasis is the multiple subject with the option of the bilingual authorization in Spanish, and we emphasize trauma-informed and healing-centered practices as kind of in our professional learning and in our coursework and what we bring as an additional emphasis into the rural residency. Our opportunity practice is really centered around thinking about growth and sustainability when we're thinking about issues of equity in our local area, in part because when we have different districts and superintendents reaching out to us interested in wanting to become part of the residency partnership and more of a consortium in the rural areas, we've been thinking about, well, how do we do this in a way that we can really think about growing responsibility with sustaining us around, with centering these questions about being justice oriented and humanizing in our practices as well. And so our opportunity of practice was thinking about what conditions are needed to create and sustain residency sites where our residents are located for their residency year that are justice oriented and humanizing for culturally, racially, and linguistically and geospatially diverse interest holders. The geospatial component has a lot more to do with thinking about the rural residents and the mentor teachers, and our residents are self-identified at 60% of them being from these rural communities. And so we've been kind of really thinking about the like space and land and how that's part of their cultural identity as well, and what that means for them. And so we have our guiding questions here. Those just really wanting to kind of understand the experiences from our first cohort of rural residents with the residency site principals, the mentor teachers, and residents. And we feel that their lived experiences can help inform us in thinking about the conditions needed to create and sustain spaces of belonging for racially and ethnically diverse students and the teachers themselves, that can hopefully lead to this goal of having some readiness indicators, or at least some good questions that we can really be upfront about when we're engaging with new residency partners and the leadership at their sites. And we included links to our interview guides if you'd like to see the questions. For today, we focused mostly on the questions around, and I should say we interviewed principals and mentor teachers and residents from the 4 sites, so a total of 12 interviews. We're still actually working on completing some of them. We got a little delay with some health issues, so this is just some initial findings that we have. So Brooke, do you want to share a little bit at this point around this theme, and or jump in at any time?
Yeah, it was so as we were coming back together after doing the interviews, some of the themes that emerged were this collective responsibility outside of themselves and to their community. And so I'm not going to read all of the quotes, but you can see them, and we've hyperlinked through the evidence up at the top. You can take a look at all of the quotes that we've gathered through mentor teachers and residents and principals as well. But there is this bigger sense of belonging and a real collective commitment to their community and the next generation of teachers coming through. And so that was the through line with our initial recruitment. Was residents were sharing, wow, this is what I needed when I was going to school. And this is, what an opportunity to give back to my community and, be back at home. So this sense of being home kept coming up. And
Yeah,
so,
I hadn't shared the demographics of our residents, so they're predominantly self-identified. When we survey them, they share mostly Hispanic, and then Latino, Latinx, and also some of them, they'll say Chicano, Chicana as well in their how they want to be represented. And that's, we're at about 80% of the residents self-identified in that way. And our mentor teachers are about 65% Latina predominantly. So just to give you a sense of of their cultural ethnic backgrounds.
And of the 4 school districts, we have 9 sites that we're working with, but across the 4 school districts, it's about 98% of the students, or I'm sorry, 93% of the students are self-identified as Hispanic, while the teachers are across the 4 districts self-identified as 44% Hispanic. So yeah, thanks, Heather, for sharing that. So with that, we have this finding that's coming up around this collective, larger collective responsibility. And, they're aware of some of these structural inequities that they are, they're using their position to then try to bring in new, our new residents coming in, and they're just wrapping around them to say, like, we're in this together, we're here. Let's get in the system together and see what we can change. And with that leads to the other theme that comes up is these wraparound supports. Residents just automatically off the bat were feeling that there was a sense that they didn't feel alone anymore. And this program allowed for the opportunity to give back. And something that came out of this that we thought was really interesting was a resident brought up this newsletter. We send out a weekly newsletter every Sunday, goes out, talks about, the programmatic side of things. There's some shout outs, and we, really just keep everybody up to date with what's going on in the program. And that newsletter came out in almost every one of our interviews about it being a sense of belonging. They felt seen. They felt heard because we would do these shout outs. And what we thought, I think we talked about yesterday, was this very transactional newsletter to just keep everybody informed, was really a sense of a piece of sense of belonging became from that newsletter. And so it allowed for us to think about how are we going to be using that newsletter differently now, when the 3 of us just thought it was, it was really interesting. And, we can go on and on about all these wraparound supports that just keeps coming up, this theme. And same for our administration. It's coming out in our mentor teachers, and our residents are talking about the wraparound supports that are coming from their administration as well on site. So Heather, I know we're getting close to wrapping up time. So do we want to talk about how we're going to move forward with, please read all of these because they're really important, but we want to really talk about what we gathered from, I know we still have a few more interviews to go, but we're finding a theme, and we've already started to begin making some changes within the program. But one of them, Heather, I know we'll talk about, is the mentor teachers seem to be needing, there's a lack of feeling a sense of belonging within, like, the support for the residents through coursework and the university side of things. And so although they feel a sense of belonging within the program, there's another layer that we need to look at. So Heather, I'll let you share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so just that the mentors were sharing that they felt a lack of confidence in understanding some of the coursework and assignments, and that made them feel like they're not fully belonging in the program. And especially because they really want to be supportive of the residents. And so they're kind of pointing to us that we need to build stronger relationships with the mentor teachers directly. And some of that barriers, of course, is, just thinking about how to structure some time to work with mentor teachers, especially if the residents are unable to sub or do not have their sub permits. And, when can we really build in that time? We do site visits and some instructional rounds that give some time for that, but we've had, I think, more time with our faculty instructors from Fresno State needing to share space with the mentor teachers and really have some time to explore more of the curriculum and support the mentors in thinking about, well, what type of questions could they ask residents to help guide them with their coursework or assessments and other things that are kind of part of the program, because the mentors are indicating to us they want to be able to be more a part of that aspect of supporting their residents as well.